Okay, our next speaker. We're back to mergers and acquisitions and hardcore finance. So this is Martin Lichauco. He's managing director of Fortman, Cline Capital. And I met him years ago because he's been in this business for many years, 20 plus years or so, in the private equity and venture capital business. And he was with H&Q before. He's been with Walden in the past, and now with Fortman. Fortman is the largest non-bank boutique investment bank in Philippines, and they specialize in mergers and acquisitions. But they do more than just that, but that's one of their big focuses. So please welcome Martin Lichauco to the stage.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate Richard and Rebecca for organizing this year's event. It's a great honor to be a speaker again this year. I see a lot more smiling faces this year. A lot of people were smiling last year, but I guess we've come a long way from last year. So congratulations, Richard and Rebecca. You know, the disadvantage of speaking in the afternoon is that there's a very good chance that the contents of most of my slides have probably been presented. So from my 20 slides, I think I can only use 2 slides. But let me speak from a private equity investor point of view. Some of my friends here know me as a venture capitalist early on in my career. But let me talk a little bit about this alternative investment platform, and then talk a little bit about Fortman Cline Capital Markets and why we implemented such a strategy from a boutique investment bank and into a very humble and upstart sort of private equity. My presentation outline will basically be the fast-growing Asian economy. I'll talk about the Philippine economy today. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about that today. And then what I see, my humble opinion as the private equity opportunity in the Philippines. And then a little bit about our firm, Fortman Cline. Some people call our office, asking if we sell the Calvin Klein apparel. So let me just spend a little time talking about our firm. Before talking about the Philippines, I'd like to spend a little bit of time talking about the Asian miracle. Let's talk about its robust economic performance and this is how this is expected to continue. The key bullet that jumps at me from this slide is really the third bullet. And somebody else, one of the speakers, had mentioned that Asia is shaping the world as the fastest growing region. And I'll go straight to the last sentence of that bullet, that by 2016, the Asian GDP is expected to exceed that of the US. Asia's rural areas are now being urbanized and connected by technology. And there's obviously a growing consumer's power spurred by wealth creation. So it is consumer driven to a very large extent. One more slide on Asia. We talked about it being consumer driven. Asian consumption, please refer to the chart, has grown 25% year on year, compared to an average growth of about 1% in the US, Japan, and European countries. And consumption will grow to 80% of that of the US GDP by 2020. Again, this is what I was pertaining to. Everybody's talked about the Philippine economy today. Much has been talked about it. I hope you had your coffee. But let me attempt to share some data points that hopefully have not been shared. And I'll try to tie this with our discussion on private equity. Again, population, why the Philippines? So you've got 108 million. Population growth is growing 1.8% per annum. You've got the main cities. We're one of the youngest, our percent under 24-year-olds is 53% of population. And look at our literacy rate. But let me emphasize, people have talked about our growth being led by BPO and remittance. It is not limited to these sectors. I believe that it is still a consumer-led growth. And I will try to convince you why, or if you're a believer of that, to just strengthen that belief, no? I will reiterate George Adisco's statement that 2015 will really be an intersection year, as this is the year we're expected to exceed the growth of China this year. I mean, just think about that. Who would have thought that the year will come when we will exceed their growth? No need to elaborate on the others. All our investment grade ratings. The administration has done very well. Again, low inflation and interest rate environment, and the steadily declining external debt levels have really helped us sustain this growth. You notice I'm going through the macro slides very fast so that you guys are kept excited about this stuff now. I know it's been used all the time, but it's still very useful. Don't worry, it gets exciting, okay? I'll smile a little bit more in the next few slides. Okay, who here is familiar with the private equity landscape of the Philippines? Thank you, just one. And that's the answer I wanted. Actually, private equity is not new to the Philippines. In the 1990s, venture capital was supposed to be very successful here, but the tech ecosystem was not ready. So a lot of the investments were made in private equity. Hopefully Hans Sikat is no longer in the audience. Thank you very much. This is not a very controversial slide, but it's taken on a rather different perspective. In fact, I changed the title from unattractive valuation to rather rich. No? I want to keep Hans as in my friends list. No? But what I'm saying is with the index at 7,815, that is a 21.2 times PE. One of the richest in the region. It's still 21 because of the very good earnings that have been produced by the companies. But here's the opportunity for private equity in the Philippines. Whether or not this continues, or whether or not the index slows down. Private unlisted entities account for over 78% of the Philippine economy. Meaning to say, all publicly listed companies account for only 22% of the Philippine economy, the gross national index. The PSE index accounts for only 15% of the gross national index. Public markets provide limited access for investors to participate in broader and growing portions of the Philippine economy. PE funds serve as an opportunity. So I'm happy if the index goes higher, whether I'm invested or not, but it gives me the opportunities of private equity investor to try to make money for my clients. Again, consumer related. Please look at the last bullet. We came to realize that only less than 15% of listed companies have predominant exposure to the sectors that we like, which is the bullet above. Just think about that for a while. No need to repeat the first 5 bullets. That's already been overused today. But think about that, and this is where we feel the opportunity is. This is a very interesting slide. Some of you may be maybe aware of this. CVC Capital Partners, the Richard Chandler Group, and GIC have actually made private equity investments in the Philippines. GIC has been the most active as of late. I don't have a slide on the local players like Navigar, Brummer, who is probably the most active Philippine-based and focused private equity fund, but they are very busy looking at deals. I think they've made 3 or 4 investments. Now to do some selling. Who is Fortman Cline? Basically, a Hong Kong-based boutique advisory bank. Hannah Yulo, the next speaker, is there. She now works for Inja. We advise Mangement on its sale to Jollibee. We did M&As, loan advisory, and now we're doing co-investment opportunities. It's nice to get fees as an investment banker, but don't you want to have skin in the game with some of the deals that you advise on? Of course, there may be conflict of interest, but we follow third-party valuations. So that is our strategy, which is co-investment. I don't really like showing these slides, but to show that we're real, we're not Calvin Klein, or we're not Kevin Klein. But for once, Bloomberg did rank us as the top M&A firm in the Philippines for the past 5 years since our inception. And we're the only Philippine firm to have made it to the top 25 M&A advisors to Southeast Asia. These 2 slides are not marketing slides. The reason I put these 2 slides up is because this is what we intend to be our strategy to attract investors. Okay? As a top boutique investment bank, we would like co-investment opportunities to the people who believe in these rankings and stature of Fortman. So we are going to be heavily investing as a co-investor in some of the deals that we put up. Whether we will make right investments or whether we don't. But I think with working with very bright young kids in the firm, I think we're very confident. So that basically is Fortman Cline and how we feel private equity will play a very active role in the growth of the Philippines. No? And hopefully next year, we can even talk about a greater index, maybe 9,000, even higher. But not knocking on the Philippine Stock Exchange's performance, but I feel that private equity is an alternative investment platform that every investment professional should actually consider. So just wanted to keep it short, and thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Martin. So there's a lot more information. He's a very sociable guy. I think we met, I don't know, years ago, maybe 12, 13.
I think we met, and that was the day you told me you fell in love with Rebecca. Okay, let's keep that offline. Okay, thank you.